What's up, everybody? It is Monday, April 25th, 2022 AD, Anno Domini, the year of our Lord. Praise the Lord. And it's 9:01 a.m. here in Los Angeles. Gonna have a fun Monday show. Do you love Mondays? Everybody loves Mondays, right? We're gonna talk about, well, I want to touch on the Nickstream. I caught part of the Nickstream. Is it the Nickstream or is it just Nickstream? Part of Nickstream on a Saturday morning. The Nickstream with the parentheses. And did you catch my debates? We'll touch on that a little bit. They're pushing a lot of Ukraine propaganda. I have a propaganda photo, although it's propagandizing me against them. Even worse, you know. Seems like everything, the more they talk about it, the less supportive I am. Not that I was supportive at all to begin with. I have some kind of like loser black woman winner consolation prize type of a story. This black woman, she's 55 years old. She's at Yale now as like a scholar or something like that. And she was given honorary, I guess, valedictorian status almost 40 years after she graduated from high school. And the mainstream media, parts of the mainstream media, like Commie Nonsense Network, CNN, is propping her up. And some other things, anti-Second Amendment propaganda. I may even share a passage, not necessarily a new passage, but a passage that was touched on in church with Jesse Lee Peterson yesterday. But anyway, guys, all that and your calls, I cracked. I'm growing. Let's get right on with the show!
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
Hey, guys!
Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. La la.
So, how are you guys doing? I am fine. Hope you had a nice weekend. I hung out with some friends, went to church, and it was cool. Very nice. Normally I stay in, like, not stay in, but it's pretty much like just have a total restful Saturday. I mean, I may go out for a little walk, but, it was cool. It was pretty fun. Very nice. Santino Robles says, D. Wade's son is not morally straight? What the? Not surprising. D. Wade himself is living wrong. Yep. And his second wife, is that? The mother of his, I mean, not even the mother of his children, is misleading his children, and he's letting it happen. What a shame. Yeah. Terrible. I don't think that I've shown you photos, but yeah, it's like there's a picture of this young man kissing like a girl who's like dressed up and looking like a boy or something like that. Maybe it's a boy who looks like a girlish boy. I don't know. Terrible things going on in the world. It's a fact. Shall we talk about this? Did you guys catch my debates yesterday? On Friday? I call it yesterday. 5 hours of sitting in this chair. Well, actually 7 hours if you count the Hake Report, and even 7 hours and 10 minutes if you count my Hake News segments on the Jesse Lee Peterson show. I had an appearance during the all-day mega Killstream live with Ralph Retort. The Ralph Retort. That's Ethan Ralph. He's host of the Killstream. Thank you for the appearance. Thank you for having me on. He had a bunch of guests on leading up to this big debate that was happening on Cozy of Nick Fuentes versus this guy named Mr. Medicare or something like Jim Medicare. I wasn't really familiar with, well, I haven't seen it yet, but yeah, that was fun. Got to talk with a guy from the internet. And since the guy from the internet wasn't showing his face, I forgot to like acknowledge him. Like after I signed off and said goodbye to shout out to the cozy people, and I guess Adam Green was on there toward the end with me. I talked with Stardust again over there. It was just a fun little party atmosphere. And I have some super chats about this too. But the video is up on Odyssey, the Killstream's Odyssey channel. I think it's the Killstream's Odyssey channel. Let me just double check here. But you can go to thehakereport.com/appearances. And actually, one of my interns may have it up on unlisted on my BitChute, so I may do that. The Ralph retort on Odyssey, ODYSEC, and then I went on Modern Day Debate. Shout out to Modern Day Debate. Shout out to James Kuntz, whom I haven't really talked with in some weeks, except through private messaging or whatever, setting up this stuff. But he's taking care of family business right now. But shout out to Hunter Avallone. Did you catch it? I talked with Hunter Avallone finally. Nice. That was cool. I talked with his wife before I talked with him. Debated her about, is there a war on men? But all year, since January 8th, James Kuntz over at Modern Day Debate, who's had me on his show, his streams many times. He's had Jesse Lee on before that. Had me debate, is there systemic racism against this liberal guy named Hunter Avallone, man in his 20s. I use the term man perhaps somewhat loosely, but I call him a nice guy. I don't know if he's nice, but I really enjoyed talking with him. And Factitionalist is the guy, Kaz was the guest host. So I talked for 2 hours with Hunter, moderated by Kaz over at Modern Day Debate. And then I talked for 2 more hours on a after show hosted by Kaz. FYI. And some of you guys didn't know how to find that, but I shared it on my community post on YouTube. I might have pasted it into my Telegram chat. And I put it in the hakereport.com/appearances post for the Modern Day Debate appearance. So there's 2 different. I talked with 2 more hours with that guy and a friend of his named Tony, a black guy, military guy. And then some other people who called in. There was this one guy who sounded like he may have been a fan, a fellow listener of No White Guilt, because he was talking about Western men. He may have been. I'm not sure. And then there was this other guy who said, oh, our genetics are so similar, and you just have to judge people by individuals. I'm like, that's what white people have been doing. But anyway, thank you guys. And did you guys catch Nickstream? Nick was my competitor because I appeared on Modern Day Debate at like 4 p.m. That's when he's supposed to be on. I wonder if I should just try to avoid booking that time. But I caught the beginning of it, the first like 45 minutes or so of Nickstream on my drive, Saturday morning drive. And he talked about John Wayne Gacy. Very interesting stuff. John Wayne Gacy, that not to be confused with John Wayne. And I'm just plugging this a little bit. Nick is also on Jesse Lee Peterson's network. Nicolas. Formerly known as Anchor Baby's new show. It's on YouTube. Not yet on audio podcast, but stay tuned for that. But yeah, John Wayne Gacy had some interesting conversation or observations about not moral straightness in terms of the sex mess. And also, it was Earth Day on Friday. You know, I touched on it toward the end of my show. Earth Day, and they pushed the climate propaganda, climate change hysteria, right? And he pointed out, I might have heard this before, one of the Earth Day people, I slipped and said Earth Gay. Sorry, kids. It's kind of what it is. But this guy who was all into the green mess, he killed his ex-girlfriend, like murdered? Terrible, and composted her or something like that. Man, That's brutal. Ira Einhorn. Is that a Christian? I don't know. Man. Einhorn, the unicorn killer. Really? Yikes. Terrible stuff. Not good. Yeah, John Wayne Gacy was a killer as well. Murderers. And church was great too. Speaking of murderers, just a side note, church with Jesse Lee Peterson. I may reread that passage that JLP had Chris read toward the end of Church with Jesse Lee Peterson. Check that out, guys. I do recommend it. Anyway, let me read some super chats. This is not a super chat right off, but Nugget Man says, "What's up, Nugget Man? Hey, stop complaining about doing long work hours like a beta. You should try to do 12 hours welding shift." And he does like a big strong arm or Armstrong emoji. Nice, man. Is that what you do? 12 hours welding shift. Yikes. Can I stand on one of those rubber pads? Because those concrete floors, man, you get tired of standing on them. Oh, man. Let me read more super chats, guys, because Asmodor gave a super chat on Friday that I did not get to. Said there's also a bad trend. Speaking of women invading spaces, we touched on this. There's a bad trend of old women going to barbershops to save money on haircuts. Wow. It wrecks the entire atmosphere of the place. You know, barbershops is where men congregate and speak BS, which is barbershop. BS is barbershop or bogus speech. But in barbershop, it's not always bogus. Sometimes there's deep conversations, but then the women come in and mess up the atmosphere. If the barber refuses to cut a woman's hair, they're sued under the so-called Civil Rights Act. Get rid of these evil anti-discrimination laws. You have the right to refuse service for any reason. Under God-given right, but you have to fight for the rights. Because in practice, you don't have your rights. In practice, you don't have them. Because our country has been taken away from us by the so-called civil rights movement, right? What a mess. More super chats from Streamlabs. Streamlabs.com/The Hake Report. Willie Powell. Shout out, Willie Powell. By the way, thank you to the Subscribestar supporters. I have like a dozen supporters over there on subscribestar.com/The Hake Report. Some exclusive content over there, guys. Willie Powell says, great job on the debate as usual, Hake. Thanks, man. Hunter got so triggered from the start that he talked over you on several occasions. And then the after party with Kaz. Wow, Hake, you are a machine. Not a welding machine, but thank you, man. A big mouth machine. Bad BB42 gave a super chat and said, Hake, I don't know if I should read this. Did Carissa make you a nice dinner after she changed Hunter's diaper and put him to bed? Nice. That's funny. He said that he has to go cry or something like that. Cry in a corner. I don't know. I assume he was joking. But thank you, bad BB42. You're bad. Lord BB42 says Hunter declaring he's right and gloating after a super chat being read to him is such a sissy thing to do. That boy is such a little sissy fruitcake. Whoa, I disavow. Hake won the debate in a one-sided old school beatdown. Put the smack down. I added that. Alpha beard and all. Happy birthday, amigo. Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Yeah, it is my birthday as of July, you know. Based America First with the super chat states, and this is important, maybe, former Utah Senator Orrin Hatch. Remember that name? I remember the name. I don't know much about what he stood for, but listen. He died Saturday, April 23rd at age 88. 88. His platform was term limits in 1976. Many of us would like term limits, right? He then went on to win 7 consecutive terms as the longest-serving RINO senator in U.S. history, promoting open borders and globalist policies. But rest in peace. He didn't say but I added that. Rest in peace. I assume that P stands for peace. I heard a different word from Ethan Ralph, about this guy who purportedly died, but maybe he didn't. Anyway, thank you, Based America First. Yeah, that term limits. I've heard, just a side note before I read more of these super chats, just a side note. I heard that term limits is not necessarily what you want, because these seasoned politicians get quite skilled at getting what they want. Not that what they want is good usually, but you know, these dinosaurs like Mitch McConnell and other people, quite cunning, quite talented. And then you get a wet behind the ears guy who's like bright-eyed and innocent and wants to do the right thing, but he has no clue what the inner workings are like and can't really get things done. Perhaps even like Trump. Like he did not, I think that it might have been a bit of a shock to him just how evil and dark DC is. Maybe. Even as seasoned a man as he was at the beginning of his term as president, his first term as president. Wow. Yeah, I heard Mike Cernovich is this center-left journalist guy, and he said, yeah, I mean, I don't know if you want this term limits thing, because then the people who are like the deep state, let's say the deep state, the career government employees, public servants, give me a break. They can just play these freshman senators and freshman politicians like fiddles. Maybe. Anyway, let me read more of these super chats, guys. I'm still going. We're still going, guys. Base America First says, your Friday Killstream appearance was fun. Everybody wanted to collab with Hake. Yeah, I got some votes of confidence, even from the internet, for going on cozy. That's cool. Thank you. Shout out to the internet. Base America First says, interesting Friday systemic racism debate. Hunter Avalon's opening statement seemed like a verbatim reading of Huffington Post. HuffPo. He quickly latched on to the female-minded thinking phrase, which became most of his arguments. Not sure he understands what that means. Yeah, he was accusing me of being female-minded by citing, like, common sense. Yeah. Avalon recommended Shapiro's Facts Don't Care About Your Feelings book, says Base America First. However, Shapiro says, avoid poverty by completing high school. Don't commit crime, no children out of wedlock, and get a job. Totally counter to the argument that poverty causes crime. Yeah, it's lack of morals that causes so-called poverty and crime. Base America First says, did the actual debate occur during the after party? Yeah, it was an interesting discussion in the after show on Kaz's channel, Factitionalist. I forget what the name of his channel is. I'll give it to you in a sec. Kaz judges himself to be racist. Yeah, Kaz is part white, part black. He calls himself cappuccino race. Therefore, everyone else is racist too. Ironic that successful black man thinks systemic racism exists. Yeah, interesting. Factitionalist Network, perhaps, is the name of his channel. It was a fun discussion. It may have even been a better discussion than with Hunter Avalon, perhaps. I'm not sure. Geranimo with a super chat says, just came back from renewing my driver's license. Did you know that they have now 2 different DLs, driver licenses? Yes, I did know that. One is called non-real and the other real. Real ID, right? The real one features a star that allows U.S. citizens to travel to other states within the U.S. A star to travel. Yeah, because they allow illegals to have driver licenses. So since they've been letting illegals have so-called driver's licenses, it's still not a federally I say they, I'm talking about individual states such as California. And so a state driver's license is no longer considered an acceptable federal identification because the states have been loosey-goosey with letting all the illegals have driver's licenses in their state. So wrong. And so it's not considered acceptable federal identification because the states have lower standards than the feds. Not that the feds have high standards. The feds don't deport these people. And so it's kind of collusion to make life harder for the real American citizens. Such a mess. Yeah, I've reported on that over the years. And some of us were forced I think the deadline has come or is coming that you have to have a real ID. Otherwise, you have to have the fake, you have to have the state one, which is illegitimate for the feds, and you also have to have a passport with you or something. It's ridiculous. Can't get on a plane for interstate travel. Anyway, thank you guys. Appreciate you bearing with me through that. Let me show you this photograph. Let me show you this photograph of Antony Blinken and Volodymyr Zelensky. Two clowns, especially Blinken, in my opinion. I don't know if I'm being too gracious to this Zelensky guy, honestly. This Volodymyr Zelensky guy, he doesn't wear a suit. He doesn't wear suits right now. Oh, at least he's wearing a college shirt there. He's wearing green, like army green-esque. The good thing about this guy is he's like a little bit like, even though he's a little bit shorter, he's like stocky. Like he's at least built like somewhat like a man. But inside, I hear he is like no moral straightness in terms of his values. And he did this photo up shaking Antony Blinken's hand. Antony Blinken is the U.S. Secretary of State, and Zelensky is the unchristian, anti-Christian, so-called president of Ukraine, which is in a war. Zoom in on his haircut, because this guy, his country's been under siege, supposedly, since late February, right? And now we're in late April, 2 months later. He has certainly cut his hair, I assume. And this guy, Zelensky, looking fresher than Hake. Fresher than Hake. Does he do it himself, maybe? I mean, look at that. That's sharp, man. Nice haircut, bro. I don't know if he's my bro. Brother in Satan? But, I mean, the countrymen want their president to look good. I don't know if it's unfair for me to be mocking this guy for having a nice haircut when his countrymen, supposed countrymen, are getting killed at his behest, honestly. Am I unfair? I see Kevin Howe in the chat constantly being like, hey, you're touting Russian propaganda, or actually you're not touting Russian propaganda, you're mocking the pro-Ukraine propaganda, which is what I do. I read Commie Nonsense Network, CNN, about, it's a solid, the American so-called government is showing a show of solidarity, a show of solidarity with Ukraine. But it's not, in my opinion, it's not actually, I'm chuckling because Hake is judging here. It's not actually solidarity with Ukraine because it's wolves in sheep's clothing. You're enabling them to keep the killing going, you know? If you were to give up the land, Hake jealous? Yeah. I'm not jealous. I admire his hair. It's cool. Very nice. But this guy, I don't believe that he cares about these people. Like JLP has said, he's on an ego trip. He's he's begging for all this money and getting money. And I'm not jealous of that either, people, I don't think. But he's getting all this weapons and stuff like that. And I guess the Ukrainian people, they seem to want to fight back. Okay, you want to fight back, but you're also incurring more casualties going that way. And I think Kevin in my chat said they don't really support Ukrainians or their politics. But if they surrender to Russia, they will kill them. Kevin in the chat says that if the Ukrainians were to surrender, they would still get massacred by Russia. I don't know if that's true, man. I really don't know if that's true. Leave JLP out of this, Hake. That's my opinion. My simplistic understanding, and it is simplistic, I admit, But is it wrong that if he were to make a deal with Putin, because it seems to me that the global homos, of which Putin may well be a part, is being unreasonable with Russia, and the Ukrainians and the Russian soldiers who are getting killed are suffering the consequences of that unreasonableness, in my opinion. I totally could be missing some stuff. Zelensky, World Economic Forum puppet. Is that true? All right. Okay, anyway, let me get to some other stories. This I touched on in Hake News. Had you heard about this? Let's get to something silly and shallow, as if everything I've just talked about wasn't silly and shallow. It's from Hake News, Commie Nonsense Network. CNN reported a black female, and I have pictures of these headlines and stuff, was named valedictorian. A black female named valedictorian decades after her high school graduation. At that point, would you even want it? You know? And was it even true that she deserved it? Or, I don't know about this. I don't buy it. And this is out of Springfield, Illinois, I believe. Named valedictorian nearly 40 years after her high school graduation. And you look at this woman, she's not even like the size that she was back in high school. Not that most people were, right? I guess it's unfair. Is that unfair? She's all big. She's not that big, but she's like, somewhat of a hefty woman definitely not confusable for a high schooler. At least still look like you could be. I don't think that's her. That's a different person, I think. This is another black girl who is seething about this story. And it's all women involved in this. This is partly why I find this story remarkable, because it's so shallow and phony emotional and racism crying, and it's so CNN, if you will. Commie Nonsense Network. But the local news covered it too. Springfield, whatever. This is the picture of the woman when she was a young lady in high school. A black female was named valedictorian decades after her high school graduation. Better late than never, says CNN. 38 years later, 55-year-old Tracy Mears, this is her high school photo, if you're watching the video. It's a black and white, cute little smile. I don't know if that's an innocent smile, though, because high schoolers are not innocent. They can be evil and malicious and cunning and conceited. There she is, present day. Maybe that was her then with the seething smile, because that looked similar, didn't it? This is Tracy Mears, a legal scholar at Yale College of Law, Yale University, was recently honored, quote unquote, named valedictorian after her high school denied her the honor way back in 1984 when I was almost 3 years old, right? Oh, gosh. And a female superintendent. This is this type of stuff that Dawning Armor might make fun of me for or get exasperated at me for. Look at these female superintendents who are in charge of this school. This is the female superintendent who gave it to her after a screening of this documentary called No Title for Tracy, as in Tracy Mears. Meares. Look at this woman. Is that even a normal white woman? But these women, a woman superintendent? Come on. This is the documentary, graphic. And it's like a profile, side view silhouette of a black female with a cap and gown type of a thing. What is that tassel thing on top of the cap? The graduate cap. And it's so it's all like ego, right? Directed and produced by Maria Ansley. I'll show you her in a sec. Oh yeah, there's this Maria Ansley. I almost didn't think that was an actual woman. Because look at those hands. Those are big hands. But I think it is an actual woman. First-time filmmaker tells the story of a black student, they capitalized the B in the word black, denied top-class honor in a new documentary. and it's written in the State Journal Register. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's traumatizing. But he did zoom in on those hands. What does that say on her t-shirt? Something, the things you care about. RBG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Oh my gosh. And it has okay, so this documentary filmmaker, part-time photographer woman, is wearing a t-shirt that has Ruth Ginsburg. You know how Ruth Ginsburg would wear these lace doily things around her collar, the feminist Supreme Court justice who died recently? The notorious RBG? Cringe. Man, that's rough. Let me play this, since I'm promoting it, and I will get to your calls, guys. Joseph Stalin says, Hulk hands. Yeah. He says a word before that, but I skipped that word. Yeah. Let me play this clip. I think I have clip 11 in here. It's from Facebook. It's the trailer for No Title for Tracy. And this woman did it on her own time, right? So, anyway, listen to this. It's a minute and a half long. I'm promoting this documentary, but I'm not trying to promote it, but I am effectively doing that. Because the mainstream media was promoting it. Listen to this.
What's the definition of a title? The Oxford Dictionary says it's a name that describes someone's position or job. It was 1984, and Tracy was a senior at Springfield High School. She had the highest GPA and was set to be number one in her class at graduation. To the best of my knowledge, racism was a thing of the past. Even back then. People like Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King Jr. had sat on the bus or stood up to the system, and change had happened.
Terrible.
But had it? George Floyd's death in 2020 reignited conversations about equality, equity, and diversity across the nation. And an afternoon with a few girlfriends in Springfield, Illinois, brought the story of Tracy to my attention.
It didn't occur to me that this would ever be an issue. I mean, the grades are the grades, and the weights are the weights, right? And so, and math is math. And so one day, Pauline Betts calls me into her office, and
Black woman.
There was a lock on her filing cabinet, and she said to me,
Look at her face.
I came into my office.
Look at her face right now.
The head counselor, whose name I have blocked out, but I know what he looks like. He had white hair, was in my office looking through my files, and he had your file.
And who knows what that means, right? I guess that's the cliffhanger. Your file. Oh, you really did win valedictorian, but they didn't want to give it to you because you're black. That's what they're getting at. If you didn't follow what's going on. I don't know who the narrator is. They need a deep voice man to try to pretend to give it more weight. But no, they couldn't even get a man to get involved in this. I'm kidding. They probably did get some males involved. They mentioned Georgia, Florida. Equality, equity, diversity, inclusion. Give me a break. Doesn't she sound a lot like Michelle Obama? To me, she sounded a lot like Michelle Obama. So despite earning superior grades, Mears, this woman, right? Tracy Mears, was shared the title of top student with a white student at her 1984 graduation. In the years before her graduation, the top student was named valedictorian and the second student salutatorian. So claimed film director Maria Ainsley. So she tied. They tied and called them top students that year. And Mears, this Tracy Mears woman, was supposedly, according to this CNN report, very fake news, was a popular cheerleader in high school and said she felt upset and angry, and she believes she was passed over for the title of valedictorian because she's black. All these years later, it's still painful, she said. It's still painful. You're pained about high school? Schoolgirl? Get over it. I remember people would be crazy. The nerds in school would be all jealous of each other sometimes, and backstabbing and gossiping and stuff like that. I remember I was a decent student in like 8th grade. And I heard that one of the other students told the teacher that I dyed my hair. That red isn't my natural hair color. What in the world? But I don't know if that's true. It's just what I heard through the grapevine. But listen to this. So it's still painful for her that she wasn't given valedictorian. She was just called top student. What's the difference? Dumb ego titles. And so they look to the Oxford Dictionary, which is also fake news. The dictionary is fake news. But she said, the world that I live in, I'm powerful. I'm confident, not vulnerable. Well, if you're so not vulnerable and you're so confident, why is it painful? That's what she said to CNN, right? Referring to her success as professor at Yale Law School, where she was the first black woman granted tenure. And she would have been the first black female to get valedictorian at this school, whatever school she went to. High school? High schooler, and now she's 55 years old, still sour grapes about it. Talk about women not forgiving, right? And all these women come together, supposedly white and black, to promote this victimhood thing and give her this title that I'm leery whether she deserves it. The resonance that the film has had with so many people is also incredibly powerful, this Tracy Mears woman said, the woman who should have gotten valedictorian in 1984, black, first black one. The ways structural racism and race discrimination can work are not the kinds of ways that people understand, right? It's not always really obvious, but it's still deep. Gestures of reconciliation are important and necessary, she said. Reconciliation, meaning whites groveling and giving blacks awards that I'm leery that they deserve, right? Making the documentary has expanded her understanding of racism, and she hopes it does the same for her audience, said this Ansley woman, the woman with the big Hulk hands. I hope that by telling the story, I can make others understand and hopefully grow. And so that's that woman. And then Jennifer Gill is that purportedly white woman who's the superintendent of Springfield Public Schools 186. And put out this statement. When we know better, we do better. By meeting Tracy and hearing about her lived experience. There's another buzzword, lived experience. Make me want to spit. We know that honoring her with this title means so much more. We have seen that high school experiences can have a profound, lifelong impact because people don't forgive, right? And they stay insecure. It was an honor to have Tracy here and a privilege to learn from such an accomplished alumna. Alumna, I guess, is female alumnus, whatever. Anyway, yeah, show the picture of the top 3 superintendents is all women leading at these schools. That doesn't bode well for the children. 4. Second one is a black female. Jennifer Gill, Nicole Moody, black assistant superintendent over at this Springfield Public Schools or something. Gina McLaughlin-Sherman. Meg Thurman. Terrible. They had to go down, like, that's crazy. Not good. I may touch on this pocket headline promoted New York Slimes article, guys, kind of in the spirit of the education being on decline. Pushing, talking about how Florida banned these CRT-related math books. I may touch on that, but let me get to a call or two. And I have other items to touch on. So there's anti-Second Amendment propaganda going on. Let me get to a call, though, first. William in California is on the line. William, how are you doing?
Hey, James, how you doing, man?
Doing well, thank you.
Hey, that story about the young lady that did everything she could to get in a good school. Now, if you see the play, the professor that you just showed,
yeah,
and this will explain why affirmative action is not good.
Okay.
The young lady is, I'm not saying she's not smart, she's
right.
teaching at Yale or whatever, but she was on staff, and they did that from the inside, and it does seem kind of phony.
Yeah, it does.
It seems kind of phony,
Yep.
self-centered. And
yeah.
And then the other girl, she doesn't even get into an Ivy League school. I think it's 12 of them. She didn't get in one.
Oh, I'm not familiar with other young women involved.
Jesse just showed this
Oh,
morning.
yeah.
She's got a 3.8. What kind of GPA she have?
Oh, let me pull it up. Let me pull up the.
You're supposed to be able to get in any school you want with those kind of marks. I think a 3.25 would do it. She was like a really good student. Well, the reason why she didn't get in is because they got a big percentage of people who don't deserve to go to Ivy League schools that let's just not even, bring it on color.
Yeah.
The girl being white and the students being black. I'm not going to even say anything about that because it's obvious.
Right.
But it's not fair.
It's not fair. That was a Wall Street Journal article. Caitlin Younger, white middle-class star student, stressing out about her grades for years, self-described perfectionist, supposedly got a 1550 on her SATs. Wow. I got like a 13 something.
Dude.
But she had a 3.95 GPA. Why not over 4.0 with all the honors classes that they get? But I don't know. That's not bad. Well-rounded student, performed and directed 30 plays, sang in the school choir, held down a part-time job.
Anybody that smart when I was growing up, they got in any school they wanted to, and it is a shame. It's a big sham.
Well, in your day, I will say that there was not the grade inflation that these students, I think, in my opinion, these students have grade inflation.
I'm a little bit older, and they didn't do that.
Yeah.
And anybody with a mark like that, it didn't matter what color you were, you got into a good school.
Yeah.
But I think the professors, celebrating her little thing, I wouldn't have wanted after all these years.
Yeah, I know. Give me a break. How embarrassing. It's clearly just kiss-up culture. It's only going to make her worse,
Yeah.
Immature.
You shouldn't even really want that.
Yeah.
Obviously, she did, and I think they just kind of celebrated. They just kind of built that from within.
I understand these people who get their high school diploma after years. I don't even know if I understand that. But to have, I was really valedictorian. Give me a break. You know what I mean? It's just...
Yeah, it's kind of phony, phony. But, that stuff is kind of playing out. All that CRT and all that stuff.
Right.
It's not doing all that good.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's more than just CRT. They have this thing called social emotional learning. And it pushes these kids to get into, their feelings. And I remember a little bit of this type of stuff already when I was in 7th and 8th grade. They were telling these students, you're going to go through adolescence. And when you go through adolescence, you're going to have an attitude that you don't understand or something like that. Basically, you know how teenagers have an attitude? They're telling us how we're going to be. It's don't tell me how we're going to be. Shoot.
Well, all teenagers have feelings. I understand that they go through some of the weirdest things.
Right.
But they just didn't make a big deal out of it back
That's not what. Yeah, it's not what you're supposed to learn about and focus on in school of all places.
Right.
You're supposed to just deal with academics, reading, writing, arithmetic, the 3 R's.
Well, I guess the young lady that got the perfect grades all 4 years in high school, I guess she can't get into Harvard or Yale because they are putting people in the school that understand CRT and 16, whatever that project they talk about.
Yeah.
It's not really fair. It's not really fair. I can just say that. And it doesn't matter what color the kid is. It's just not fair. That kid.
They do say she didn't have exactly perfect because she got a 3.95 GPA.
Pretty close, though.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, I don't know if she was in a school that offered a lot of these AP and advanced placement and honors classes. If you get an A in those classes, you get a 5.0 on that part. So a lot of students are getting above 4.0, which in the old days, in the good old days, 4.0 was perfect. But now you could get close to a 5.0 if you take practically all honors classes because they give you a whole extra point above that. It's crazy. So I don't know, but 1550 is a really high SAT score, and all that involvement and part-time job, that is quite respectable. But
thing is,
this woman doesn't belong in college, you know?
I challenge anybody, James, to call in your show today to say where that's right. You know, because it's really not right.
Yeah,
it's
true.
Smart enough to go to just about any school in the country.
Well, hopefully she just...
Hopefully she'll find something.
Yeah, just get a job and then find a man and be humble and not worry about going to school, because this college stuff, Ivy League schools, that's not good for white girls.
I've seen the leaders on the board. They were all women. And
that I showed just now?
That ain't going to turn out too good. But, I mean, you know, there's going to be a change coming, because there's a lot of unhappy parents that are watching what they're doing to the kids in the school and saying that the parents don't have any rights to what you're teaching their child. Well,
I know.
There's some unhappy campers out there right now.
There's a lot of, even when they do evil and they do injustice, God can turn it around for good, for what's right. Like, for example, the shutdowns were communist and unnecessary, but the shutdowns got the kids away from those evil schools, and it let the parents know what's going on at the evil schools. And the parents got riled. And there were some people who capitalized on that. You know, the normie, mainstream, so-called conservative RINOs are pushing this anti-CRT thing, which I'm happy with, because we shouldn't be pushing this fake racism stuff. So that's like a blessing in disguise.
If you go to college and study that stuff, you're going to end up going to college and creating a big bill for yourself. And the courses that you took, all of that kind of stuff right there, it's not going to do anything for you in the world.
Exactly. So this woman, this young white girl that Jesse Lee covered that you're talking about, she's blessed. She's better off not going to any of those Ivy League, so-called Ivy League schools.
Probably these days, that might be correct.
Yeah.
She might want to take her talents elsewhere.
And women shouldn't get an education. It's not good for them. You know, they get all on an ego trip. So I think that this Wall Street Journal story is kind of being feminist, in my opinion.
Right.
But you're right. It is a total double standard against the whites.
It is, man. I mean, that's where the affirmative action, you know, please do, anybody, defend it. Show me where that's right.
Yeah.
Because they love to make wrong right. And that's a good example of it right there.
Yep. Yeah, it's a mess.
All right, James.
Appreciate it, William. You as well.
Right.
Take care. I'm going to get to more of your calls, guys, but since I'm on this education kick, let me talk about this failing New York Slimes article that I came across in Pocket. Pocket is that far left. It gathers different liberal headlines and puts them in front of your face if you're a Firefox user, which I use it for a certain aspect, get on Cozy and stuff like that for JLP. So I got this from the New York Times. They covered these Florida books that were, well, here's the headline. This is from the Failing New York Slimes. Article was out April 22nd by a couple of ladies. I use the term loosely. A look inside the textbooks that Florida rejected. Well, it's not all of them, some of them. The state rejected dozens of math textbooks. The New York Times, Slimes, reviewed 21 of them to figure out why. And the graphic at the top of this article has like a scan or something of, you know, the inside of one of these textbooks, and it has like cartoon images of like this blonde white girl and this black kid. And it's talking about math, you know. But then it also says, the black kid says, for some reason, inside of a math textbook, to learn together, disagree respectfully. What? What are you even talking about? That's from a page from the textbook, Envision Florida Best Mathematics Grade 1. First grade? Telling students to disagree respectfully. Whatever, man. And it was written by these two women who are, I don't think that they're Christians. They don't seem like normal whites to me, these females who wrote this article. Out April 22nd in Failing New York Slimes. Dana Goldstein and Stephanie Saul. I don't think that those are Christians. These women writing about children's education. No thanks. Keep me away from them. And I looked down at the bottom of the article. Dana Goldstein is a national correspondent writing about how education policies impact families, like she cares about families, students, and teachers across the country. Author of The Teacher Wars, A History of America's Most Embattled Profession. Yeah, because they target the kids. Stephanie Saul is another woman who's been writing for The Times, Failing New York Slimes since 2005. Written about the pharmaceutical industry, education, and stuff like that. And, I guess there was an announcement made, that the state made of Florida. Florida's against this critical race theory mess being pushed in schools. The attack on white kids. It's an attack on all kids, really. Because it's not good for blacks to be hating whites and brainwashed to hate the country and pretend that, racism, America was founded on racism and on slavery and genocide, stupid stuff like that. And the whole system is racist, systemically racist. Give me a break. This guy said, this gal said, I'm not sure what the value proposition of making an announcement like that is, other than there's political value in it. Political means the people want it, meaning the parents don't like this fake propaganda being pushed on their children. And so they have little New York Slimes is seemingly, in my opinion, these ladies who wrote this article, trying to downplay the poison that is pushed on these children. But even with the stuff that they're showing, it is so female, what is the word? If I were to encounter this as a kid in school, I would feel like they are being condescending to me. Listen to this. This is inside of a math book. It has a diagram with core skills that students should develop. This is support for social emotional learning, SEL, social emotional learning, self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision-making. These things sound good, right? But it's a female imitation of what's right. Social awareness. Relationship skills, and for some reason it says math musicals in the middle of it. Self-awareness. Newton is afraid of heights, and it has this graphic of a person who's, I guess, Newton. He doesn't want to cross a hanging bridge in the Belize jungle. His friends give him the self-confidence he needs to successfully walk across the bridge. So you get your self-confidence from your friends. Students tap into rich characters, I guess this is a plug for the textbook. Students tap into rich characters, relationships, and emotions with math musicals, providing a landscape for social and emotional learning. This is math. The heck? What in the world? Maybe I shouldn't say heck in front of the kids, right? Don't say heck, kids, unless your parents let you. Do as I say, not as I do. What is my math biography, asks one. I don't get that. On another page in this book, Teaching Division, asks students the question, how can you understand your feelings? And this is a McGraw-Hill book. McGraw-Hill is one of the major textbook makers. They go right along with this propaganda that's pushed on the children. How can you understand your feelings? Another one has this little black girl on the, a drawing of a black girl. To have a growth mindset, try a new way when you're stuck. Oh, that's nice. Whatever. Here's another one. After rating their comprehension of math concepts, students are asked to self-assess their willingness to try new things and persevere when something is challenging. That's nice. Oh, here's one that's kind of a kissy-uppy, kiss-up mess. Here's a page from an 8th grade pre-algebra textbook. A black female, one of the black female from, Hidden Figures? That movie, propaganda movie? Dorothy Johnson Vaughn. Here's a math history minute, and it has a black female. Kissing up to the blacks. A short biography of Dorothy Johnson Vaughn, an African-American mathematician who led a computing unit for the agency now known as NASA. I said NASA. African American female. African American. It's black. Black American. Fake stuff, huh? And then here's the New York Slimes' explanation of the debate over so-called critical race theory. Let me just finish this in like the five minutes we have here, and then I'll get to a song, and then I'll get to calls. Okay, guys? Let me do this. Okay, we're jumping to the critical race theory thing. Understanding the debate over critical race theory, CRT, right? It's pushing the fake, it's, the anti-white thing. An expansive academic framework, explains the failing New York Slimes. Critical race theory, or CRT, argues that historical patterns of racism are ingrained in law and other modern institutions. The theory says that racism is a systemic problem, not only a matter of individual bigotry. They have to say that because everybody knows that blacks are the most so-called racist, if you believe in racism. Blacks are encouraged to be that way, and they're never checked on it, so they don't care, and they're shameless about it. Meanwhile, we all should be shameless about how we see things, or blindly imagine things. In the case of the blacks imagining racism. Here's the next part. CRT is not new. Derek Bell, a pioneering legal scholar who died in 2011, spent decades exploring what it would mean to understand racism as a permanent feature of American life. One of the most diverse countries in the world, too diverse, in all honesty. He is often called the godfather of critical race theory, but the term was coined by Kimberly Crenshaw in the 1980s. And this Kimberly Crenshaw woman is a black female who was interviewed by Joy Reid. I played clips of her before. I may have to play that clip of her again, because she didn't answer whether it's Marxist. Joy Reid, the MSLSD, black female, hard-looking woman. Hard to look at looking woman. She doesn't look that hard. But she asked this Kimberly Crenshaw woman, is CRT a Marxist ideology? And the woman didn't answer because it is. Marxism being atheist, anti-Christian, anti-white. Understanding the debate over critical race theory, the theory has gained new prominence after the protests born from the police killing of George Floyd, which is fake news. It was an overdose death, in my opinion. It's not a medical opinion. It's a layman's opinion. Critical race theory has resurfaced as part of the backlash among conservatives, including our greatest president, Donald J. Trump, who began using the term as a political weapon. What a lie. What a lie. We're fighting back against this political weapon that's been pushed on the kids, on the children for decades. I remember learning about discrimination as though that was a bad thing when I was in elementary school. I think I was in like 5th grade or something like that. Or maybe, no, I wasn't 2nd grade. But I remember learning about this stuff. Discrimination. I don't think I learned the word racism. I might have. But now it's pushed like crazy. And the nutty early 20s female teachers are pushing this on kids like crazy. And so it is a political weapon against the kids to brainwash the kids into a bunch of evil minions to go against what's right, whether they're white or so-called white or black or whatever. Hispanics, Asians, they all hate whites, right? And hate actual justice. But Trump is fighting back weakly against it. Sorry, Trump, but it's a little bit, safe in the way that they're doing this. The anti-CRT people. Very safe, very, cringy. It's like they're playing patty cake with this stuff. Oh, but it's a political weapon. No, it's been wielded as a political weapon against the people. Education. So dishonest. CRT is bad for Asians. I know, huh? Yeah. Make me want to spit. Anyway. It's an attack on whites. It's an attack on... Anyway, what a mess. Critics of CRT argue that it accuses all white Americans of being racist and is being used to divide the country. Clearly, it is used to divide the country. And whether it's accurately calling all whites racist or not, effectively it's feeding the imagination of the people and the false judgment of the people, right? But critical race theorists say they are mainly concerned with understanding the racial disparities that have persisted in institutions and systems. They don't care about understanding. They're anti-Christian people. They're anti-white people. They're phony intellectuals. Intellectuals are liars, dishonest people. A hot-button issue in schools. The debate has turned school boards into battlegrounds, as some Republicans say the theory is invading classrooms. Education leaders, including the National School Boards Association, say that CRT is not being taught in K-12 schools. But remember, I played that other superintendent from, like, Detroit, the guy who has supposedly a Northern Italian last name, Vito something. I played it just on Friday, I want to say, and he said it is being, and everybody knows that it is, because even the lie of racism has been taught even before I ever heard of critical race theory, you know? Yep, what a mess. And then they pretend, oh, you're not teaching history. Everybody learned that slavery was real, happened, right? And then we learned that there were good and bad slave owners. And there were good and bad slaves. Anyway, guys, we are at the top of the hour. I got to get to some song. To a song. Some song. Not just any song. Before I get to calls, it is time for some Frog Eyes. Frog Eyes. Frog Eyes. This is from the 2003 album that I've been playing since last week, The Golden River. I hope you enjoy it. This is track 6, Orbis, Magnus. I think you will like it. You musical Philistines, it's dramatic. It's brooding or something like that. Here it is, guys. Enjoy, and I'll be right back for the rest of hour 2. Hang tight. Wasn't that so cool, guys? What a vibe. Wasn't that such a vibe? I like it. Kind of reminiscent of, I don't know, like a spooky, like, Pirates of the Caribbean ride on before the Disney movies ruined it. You know? I don't know. I don't know what the meaning of the song is. It's not Christian. Let me read some of you guys' chats, if anything. Did slavery happen, Hake? I guess. Wasn't that bad, though. Wasn't as bad as what they're pretending. I'm sure there was some nasty things, but they hype up those things and don't give you a balanced take on it. Man, I don't see any reaction. I guess everybody liked this song fine. Play some Nile. White's built Wakanda. What? No Sho Sugino. It's not that. It's Golden River. All right. Well, thank you guys for bearing with me through the beautiful music. I think that you all liked it, right? Are you ever going to run out of CDs, Hake? Music from the basement of Piscataway, New Jersey. Close. It's from Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. Victoria, which is not anywhere near New Jersey, actually. It's just north of Vancouver, Washington, right? Somewhere around there. Frog Eyes. Thank you, guys. You have a terrible habit of terrible music, and you should feel bad about it. Have some shame. Hake, do you like trolling us? I'm not trolling. I like it. Play some Captain Beefheart, Hake. I do have one album of his, or theirs, or whatever. I didn't really get into it. I only like new stuff. I'm a sucker for the new stuff. That was Kurt Cobain. He kept his voice more chill and on one shelf with that song. Yeah, true. Thank you, guys. All right. Let me get to a call or two, and then I feel like I didn't finish my anti-CRT rant, or this girly targeted education rant. I may touch more on that. We'll see. But let me get to Justin in Fullerton, California. He's been on the line for some time. Justin, how are you doing in Fullerton? Are you there? Hey.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
I was calling because I wanted to see if you heard about this article, because I wasn't too pleased with it. There was a woman who's working and renting a room at the same time and has a child that she says she wants to charge $450 for the room if she can get a full-time nanny at the house to watch her child while she works.
Okay, so, all right. So there's an article about a woman who wants to rent out a room in a home that she is living in.
Yes.
And have that person who's renting from her pay her $450 a month, plus be a nanny watching her children while she works.
Yeah, that's like, I guess, the exchange. I don't know if she's looking for someone that's on Social Security.
That was an article or an ad? Was she like saying, hey,
it's an ad that she actually put on CraigsList, and that was going
so you saw
viral.
this you saw this CraigsList ad?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I love looking at Craigslist ads. They're hilarious, but this one's spooky. I was just like, this one gets more clout than the other ones, you know?
More clout?
I'd say so.
What do you mean by gets more clout than the other ones?
Goes more viral, I guess, gets more notoriety because it's shocking.
Oh, okay.
A person that, yeah,
how is it shocking, though? I mean, it is. Explain why it's shocking.
Well, because a woman can't raise her child at the same time be able to go find a way to go to work. She has to use her house as a means to get some whoever you're renting to could be a psychotic person. Anywho, but you don't know who the person is because they put a good front on, let alone let them watch your child while you're going far away. You're not working from home.
Yeah.
And the police haven't got onto that. That just sounds really inappropriate. Derelict of her duties as a mother. Could be fired from her job.
Yeah, I mean, it is. What a messed up situation. So apparently this is a single mother, huh? Or
yeah,
maybe it's not. Maybe the man's out working
I
too.
don't know too much I don't know too much, but my mom was a single parent and raised me. And even though when my father passed away, my mom worked several jobs. She, never asked anything for me, but I'd always want to pitch in. And I don't think a 4-year-old is what she says. Is responsible, self-sufficient, blah, blah. You should check out this article or this ad. And there's a lot of articles about her, but it's just shocking.
So there are
to me.
articles about her?
About her ad. Yeah.
What's the article? What? I don't get why this is such a big deal. I mean, sounds kind of typical of the way that people live.
Well, I look at technotrends.
What's the point of the Don't be plugging stuff. Just send me the article by email, man. What's the point of the article, though? Was it? Well, the point of the article was what you said, was that she's derelict as a mother?
People that are on CraigsList being asked to pay money to babysit her child. So that's kind of like a new thing or a trend. I don't know. It's a trend, techno trend thing that I subscribe to. So I was an article I came across.
Yeah, that is quite expensive. I mean, depending on where you're living, you have to pay rent and watch the kid full time. Seems like you should be able to live there free and watch the kid full time, or maybe even be paid a little bit and watch full time, and then you also have to pay rent. So you kind of, I don't know, what a mess. That's interesting. But
I don't think that should be allowed, but whatever.
I mean, it's running a risk for sure, but it's the mother, it's her kid. I don't know.
You can't use that situation so that you can evade your responsibility.
You think the government should step in and take the kid away?
Oh, yes. No, not taken away, but all of that should be monitored if they're utilizing a house as a daycare center and it's her property and she's whatever. That should be definitely investigated for a lot of people, not just her.
I know, but the problem is the government's even more corrupt than the woman. Maybe
leaving a child unattended to a renter. That's ridiculous. Is what I'm trying. I can't make it more succinct, but think about this later. There's lots of people, men or women, that do it.
But my argument is, look at the standards that the government has for valid so-called parents. They have the LGBT people pushing that stuff. They being parents and foster parents and all that stuff. They don't have good standards as far as what makes a good caretaker for a child or guardian for a child.
Correct, but then all of a sudden they have a risk running a child that could either run away, go to jail, or commit suicide, or be damaged by the foster person physically or emotionally or whatever. So I think it should be something where they have to monitor that, in all people's homes, especially if they're in charge of renting of a child.
What a mess. I don't know, man.
If that's a trend, I don't know. I hope it stops. That's not...
It doesn't sound like that unusual of a situation. Except that she's charging her $450 plus she has to watch the kid.
Yeah, because that person's not qualified as a caretaker.
How is she going to make money?
Yeah, that person's not qualified as a caretaker, and that person's just probably a Social Security person nanny. They should straight out say they need a nanny then, and that'd be different.
Right. Yeah, true.
Got to buy groceries for the kid, got to take care of the kid. What is this? This is just, and feed the kid and protect the kid all while she's working. And then you're free to go. Do what you want for the rest of the night. Yeah, weird.
Yeah, it is a strange situation. That's life, man. They need fathers back. I wonder if the father's alive.
Yes. That's right.
Huh. Anyway.
If there was, that would be probably a better situation.
But the same argument could be used for anybody watching your child, whether it's a daycare center that's even approved or a babysitter. People use babysitters all the time. And if you're a good judge of character, you can tell when a person's kind of trustworthy, maybe.
No, I don't think you can. I think you could judge the fruits and all that of someone's character, and I get that, but stranger, someone you don't even know.
Yeah, in all honesty, the mother's, if the child is young enough that the child has to stay home, the mother should stay home. Yeah,
there should be a law. All parents should stay home with the child under the age of such and such, not just leave it off to the renter. There we go. I hope everybody listening spreads the word. And if you're doing it, you stop it. You stop it now. You take care of your...
Were you an only child?
You ask for a raise.
Justin, were you an only child?
I was an only child, yes, sir. And I was like a latchkey kid where I had a paper route at 11, but my mom didn't leave me until then to go out and bike in the morning in Huntington Beach and then detail vehicles every day and make money. But yeah, and then pitch in for rent and utilities. And I think everybody, all kids listening, take care of your parents and do your part.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, thank you, Justin. Thanks for the tip.
Thank you.
Somewhat interesting for sure.
Little tidbit. Yeah.
Okay,
have a good day.
You too. Take care. Let me get to C-Sal, a first-time caller out of Washington State. How are you doing, C-Sal?
Hello, Hank.
Hey. It's nice to hear from
I'm
you.
super nervous. Thank you. Thank you for taking my call. Hey, so I just wanted to say really quick, I joined your Subscribe Star, and it's amazing.
Right on. Thank you.
Yeah.
I saw that.
I really enjoy I like that it's more like personal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really, really nice. And also, I wanted to say a little something about the Johnny Depp trial. I don't know if you guys have. I know JLP said something about it, but did you hear when he said that he married his mother?
Yeah, a couple of people have sent me that quote, and even a clip of it. Hassan actually sent me a clip of him saying that he married his mother.
I could not. I was watching it and I could not believe it because you know how we're supposed to be. We're labeled, far right and on the fringe of whatever. But to hear that from somebody so famous and to see the truth of what JLP says, I mean, we know I can see the truth and I know it's true, but to see it in front of you, it was crazy. So yeah, that was really interesting, and I'm just grateful. That
it is.
You guys do
I notice
hard work.
I notice a lot of people will say, "Oh, I married my mother," or "Oh, you ended up marrying your mother." I've heard it even before hearing of Jesse, but I'd never heard that it's because of the resentment of the mother that you end up being attracted to what you hate.
Right.
But
and
that's cool.
To be honest with you, I don't really understand exactly, low IQ over here, I don't understand exactly how that works, but somehow it does, it happens.
Right. It was interesting how he described, I watched part of the trial where he was described, or whatever you call it, court hearing, where he described what his mother would do to him and to his father. His father was so weak and his mother was just out of control, couldn't contain her anger, just malicious according to him. Mm-hmm. And his father just obeyed the mother, basically. But it was very interesting. And Nick pointed out, Nickstream, I don't know if he mentioned it on Nickstream, but he pointed out off air at least that his relationship with Amber Heard, this nutty woman whom he married, was the same as his father's relationship with his mother. It's pretty interesting. Like, in other words, a weak man getting his weaknesses exploited by the woman who despises the man for being weak and just going further and further out of control. Terrible. Yeah,
it's a mess. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you so much for taking my call, and thank you for all you guys do. We're very, very grateful, and shout out to the snake pit.
Nice.
To the chat.
Appreciate it, C. Sal. Thank you for calling. Call me again sometime.
Thank you. All
right.
Bye-bye.
Take care. C. Sal. Yeah, she talked about Subscribe Star. Guys, check out my Subscribe Star. It's a little bit more personal. I go out and walk around the neighborhood, Jewish neighborhood. I try to keep my eyes peeled so I don't get jumped or knockout gamed. Polar bear hunted. One hitter quittered. You know, the blacks like to knock out whites. And subscribestar.com/The Hake Report. I talk about life, and I've talked about what I eat. I've talked about a little bit more on one of my debate opponents. I talked last week about Fanatic, the black guy whom I debated a week ago. What was it, Friday or Saturday? Did I debate him? I feel like I debated him. Oh, yeah, I debated him whether Disney is woke and targeting kids. He got frustrated. So check it out. I think you would enjoy it. And $3 a month, or $5 or $10 or more if you want. I appreciate the support, guys. Streamlabs.com/The Hake Report for some exclusive content, and you just support Hake each month. Nice. That's cool. Support Bond too. Did I say Streamlabs? I meant Subscribestar. Subscribestar.com/The Hake Report. Seems Streamlabs is nice for super chats, but subscribestar.com/The Hake Report has the exclusive content. Let me read a few of these live chat things, guys. Brandon M says, this guy, meaning, what's the guy? Joshua? Whatever, from Fullerton, California. The only child of a single mother. Justin? Yeah. Said, this guy shouldn't be advocating for the government to just march right in and monitor people's lives, regardless of the situation. It's already bad enough. I agree with that, man. That was my sense about it. I don't think he realizes the precedent. Yeah. Yeah, social workers and social services and child protective services, CPS, they're enemies of the fathers and of the children. Truly. Misguided women. Kind of like what I was talking about with this social emotional learning, SEL, that they're pushing in math textbooks. Math textbooks. Thank God for based Florida. Based Rhino Run Florida. I call them RINOs, but I don't know much about them. But they like very weak in their fight against evil. You know? I'm shaking my head. Shaking it more. Yeah. Not good. Not good at all. I saw some interesting chat statements regarding, I think it was this college situation. Commander Kim says, it's a boomer thing. Every boomer goes on and is like, I could have been a professional hockey player, dancer, musician, doctor, if only it weren't for blank. And then they wonder why millennials are nuts. Boomers sold Gen X and millennials hopes and dreams. Most of the Gen X turned out okay, miraculously. Oh, you think so? I don't know. Telling kids, oh, I like this part. Taking care of businesses. Telling kids to follow their dreams is such bad advice. Yeah, that was partly why I was so like aimless in college. I studied art. Art with an emphasis in graphic design. Shaking my head. You do what you're good at. If you stink at hockey, spending your whole life trying to be a pro hockey player is going to turn into disappointment. Yeah. Or you shouldn't even be going to college. You should be working and get some real, like, skills and, like, deal with people and stuff. Not be in this your own little enclosed bubble of a world called academia that's subsidized by the government and not providing much value to society except to tear it down into communism and emasculated men and women who are overly ambitious and then getting too old to have kids and bitter towards the men and the men are weak and hating whites and full of hatred and a mess. So, college is fine for some. It's not for, I don't know. What a mess. We gotta turn stuff around. It was very interesting being on the Killstream, by the way. That reminds me, I was on when I first came on the Killstream on Friday. That long Killstream. It was like 2:15 p.m. I went and I stayed until like 3:30. I was on with Dalton over at cozy.tv. Smart young man. Dalton Cloudfilter. And he and I were debating a little bit with Stardust, this liberal woman from a Muslim family, Muslim part of the world, I guess. She's a woman whom I debated before, and I'm like, are you bored? I think that may be just her personality. Just unimpressed or unentertained or something like that. Generally. But she was talking about something, and then we're talking about women working and women going to school and all that stuff, and how that cheapened the value of money and it cheapened the value of labor, and it just made things worse and worse. And Dalton was making a good point about that. So if you like, check that out. Nice little conversation amid the just shooting the breeze. Oh, some actual super chats, guys. Your girlfriend gave a super chat. Oh, no, it was not your girlfriend. Single mom gave a super chat. Easy to confuse those things, right? Single moms should not be girlfriends, by the way. Single mom gave a super chat on streamlabs.com/The Hake Report. Says, Hunter says blacks never had a chance to build generational wealth. I know, give me a break. Because of redlining. He mentioned the crime bills in the 90s, but said nothing about housing legislation for blacks, which led to the housing bubble and then the market crash of 2008. Thank you, single mom. That's one smart single mom. Yeah. I remember hearing about this from my old boss at the cabinet shop where I used to work before I worked for Bond. He said that Bill Clinton or somebody, you know, the one of the worst presidents before we had Obama, decided all blacks should own homes. And so they forced these banks to give loans to blacks when blacks, knowing that blacks weren't able to make payments. And then they have, you know, things like what, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac kind of like ensure that the loans are going to get paid off even if the people default on the loans. Is that the case? Maybe I'm butchering what the setup is. But effectively, they're giving loans that the blacks couldn't afford to pay or wouldn't afford to pay. Is both. The problem is both. And it inflated the cost of housing. When you subsidize housing, it increases the cost of housing artificially, the price of housing. And so they're going overboard with helping the blacks. They went from one supposed extreme, which I don't even buy that was necessarily an extreme, of keeping blacks out of communities, to like putting them in them. And then Obama with his HUD, redistribution of ghettos. It's ridiculous. And this generational wealth thing is such a phony thing. Thank you, single mom. Thanks for pointing that out. And then so we had the housing bubble. And as JLP said, the blacks wouldn't pay back. And you know, these banks, they'll take advantage of this situation. If the government's getting involved, you'd be like, okay, we got to protect ourselves. Lin Yen Chin with the super chat says, white is bright, right, to insight, oh gosh, beyond dark bounds of insecurity, as conveyed by my black mama. Okay. Christ came so y'all could illuminate the path for all life forms who seek the mechanical brilliance of giant robots to come. Maybe 3/5 of a keyboard for me? Thank you, Lin Yen Chin. Appreciate that. Yes, we should be thankful for whites, especially the very highly effective and productive and civilized and smart and wise whites. And there is a difference between smart and wise. Very nice. Thank you, Lin Yen Chin. Yeah, maybe he should get 3/5 of a keyboard. Man. So your black mother appreciated whites, did she? That's cool. Black and Asian. Let me tell you about this anti-Second Amendment propaganda. Let's get back to some news, shall we? It's about 10:30. I touched on this in Hake News at the end of Hour 2, toward the beginning of Jesse Lee's Hour 3. This is from the far-left females at the Skim. What's got parents concerned? Gun deaths. And I say there's no such thing as gun deaths. The new scared woman-led CDC research found that guns was the leading cause of death among U.S. children, quote-unquote U.S., in 2020. More than 4,300 so-called minors. And this is interesting because what happened in 2020? In May, June of 2020, end of May, beginning of June, or pretty much all of June, the Georgia, Florida, BLM, Black Lives Matter riots, and also the economic destruction and the overreaction to the China virus, right? 4,300 minors, kids and teenagers, right? Killed, supposedly, by guns in 2020. Up nearly 30% from the year before. That's a big jump, allegedly, according to the CDC. The scared woman-led CDC. Not run by a Christian woman, by the way. Rochelle Walensky. I don't think she's Christian. That outpaced deaths from car accidents and cancer. Yeah, like kids are dying from cancer that much. Give me a break. Driven largely, I think that is what she's talking about, the ladies at the skim, driven largely by firearm homicides, not suicides. Well, I would think that a kid wouldn't kill himself with a gun as frequently as getting killed by guns, especially with the black crime as crazy as it is, and maybe some of the Hispanics too, with their violent crime. Lesser, but still out of control compared to the whites and Asians, right? And I say, thanks, BLM. But they don't want to say that, oh, they want to attack the Second Amendment. Listen to this little line. It's believed to be connected, meaning the increase in so-called gun deaths, is believed to be connected to a rise in gun ownership. Yeah, okay, ladies at the skim. During the scamdemic, during the pandemic, because gun ownership increased during the so-called pandemic. Not just because of the shutdowns causing economic mess, but also the Georgia, Florida Black Lives Matter riots. Georgia, Florida being George Floyd. And terror attacks and insurrection across the country. So they're blaming law-abiding citizens for buying guns. That increased gun deaths. More than 5 million children, the ladies at the skim lament, live in households with guns. Ooh. Authors of the study say kids need to be saved from these preventable causes of death. And I say, shut up, you CDC liberals. You know what I mean? Where's Art when you need him? Talk about these liberal women. Gun deaths, so-called, among children and teens on NBC, according to this NBC News report, rose by 29% in a single year, largely because of an increase in homicides, not suicides. Because by and large, I think, well, I know that there's a lot of suicides by gun, right? You shoot yourself. You don't, but some people do. Don't do that. By Aria Bendix. Killing more people ages 1 to 19 in the United States than vehicle crashes, drug overdoses, or cancer. Wow. And it was a research letter published in the New England Journal of Medicine. I thought it was CDC data. Maybe they analyzed the CDC data, but the researchers analyzed it or something like that. Yeah, they analyzed decades of mortality data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and they're analyzing homicides and suicides by gun. That's not disease. But that's the government for you. They try to get their fingers involved in everything. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Co-author of the letter is Jason Goldstick, a research associate professor at University of Michigan. In the last 40 years, and almost certainly before that, this is the first time that firearm injuries have surpassed motor vehicle crashes among kids. Very interesting, huh? I thought that homicides were going down. Of course, cars have gotten safer over the last 40 years, right? You know, they put styrofoam in the bumpers. I don't know if that makes it safer. But they have all this crunch zones. And meanwhile, they're encouraging people to be immoral, have messed up families, and therefore more murderous people, I think. The mothers going out of control. Homicides rather than suicides made up the majority among the children and teens. Disproportionately affect younger Americans, gun killings do. 33% from 29 to 2020. Wow. Interesting, huh? But they're using it to go after the Second Amendment, not themselves. They shut down They shut down people's lives in overreaction to the China virus. And they promoted the lie of racism. You know, that stupid woman who supposedly got a valedictorian. Was she the one who talked about Georgia, Florida in that clip that I played? Maybe it wasn't her. Maybe it was the dumb female maker first-time documentary filmmaker with the big hands. Crazy. They're not for what's right. They'll just stir up problems, cause more problems, and then swoop in with their false solutions. Let's go after the Second Amendment. Let's go after whites and Christians. Oh my gosh. I was looking at the serious attack happening against white individuals over the recent years for stuff that other people did. Some people did something, and they're blaming the so-called white supremacists for it. Oh my gosh. I might get to that because it's pretty insane. But let's take a breather. Let's calm down and read a passage, shall we? I want to reread this passage that I heard in church with Jesse Lee Peterson. Do you know if you read that whole chapter yesterday, Chris? Starting at verse 13. Like, you read Galatians 5, verse 13 and on.
I stopped at...
Like 26?
25 or 26.
Okay, I think that is the whole chapter. Guys, let me reread this. Chris did a fine job reading it too. But I got this from Catholic.org. Shout out to the Catholics. That's where you can find the online version of the Bible translation that Jesse and Chris were reading yesterday. Galatians 5, verses 13 to 26. You know what? I put this in the folder, the Don't Show folder. So I guess people can kind of read along, because it's kind of easier to hear it and read along, at least for me. This is SEL for you guys, social emotional learning. No, hopefully it's not. And then I'll read, I got some interesting, I might have gotten some super chats that I want to read. So here's Galatians. I think that's a letter from Paul, right? To the Galatians, church in Galatia. Chapter 5, verses 13 through 26. After all, brothers, you were called to be free. Do not use your freedom as an opening for self-indulgence, but be servants to one another in love. Since the whole of the law is summarized in the one commandment, you must love your neighbor as yourself. It's like Jesus said even. If you go snapping at one another, a snapper, and tearing one another to pieces, take care, you will be eaten up by one another. Yeah. Instead, I tell you, be guided by the Spirit, and you will no longer yield to self-indulgence. Wow, that's good advice. The desires of self-indulgence are always in opposition to the Spirit. And the desires of the Spirit are in opposition to self-indulgence. They are opposites, one against the other. That is how you are prevented from doing the things that you want to do. And by the way, this is not the King James Version. Please bear with me, you King James only people. Going on with verse 18. This is Galatians chapter 5. But when you are led by the Spirit, you are not under the law. When in self-indulgence is at work, the results are obvious. Sexual vice, impurity, sensuality, the worship of false gods and sorcery, antagonisms, being antagonizing, rivalry, jealousy, bad temper. Yeah, there's some people with bad temper. Quarrels, disagreements, factions, malice. This is kind of what I was talking about with this, the whole like New Testament, talking about the backbiting and gossip and division in the church, right? Factions and malice, drunkenness, orgies, and all such things. And about these I tell you now, as I have told you in the past, that people who behave in these ways will not inherit the kingdom of God. On the other hand, the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, this is a famous verse, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, trustfulness, gentleness, and self-control. No law can touch such things as these. Isn't that interesting? Oh my gosh, I have something to say about that, but let me just finish. All who belong to Christ Jesus have crucified self with all its passions and its desires. Since we are living by the Spirit, let our behavior be guided by the Spirit. And let us not be conceited or provocative and envious of one another. Isn't that nice advice? Thank you, I presume, Paul. Some of you guys don't like Paul. A couple of you say, Paul was a false prophet. He was a Jew. Or something like that. He wasn't with Jesus. He just claimed to see him on the road to Damascus and got blinded. So he said, the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, trustfulness, gentleness, and self-control. No law can touch such things as these. I like that because it's kind of like, I think they're talking about, well, how I took it, and I may be mistaken in how I take it, but it sounds like the laws, you know how the laws are against whites, their laws are against freedom right now, the laws are against men, but if you are led by the Spirit, it will protect you because you'll have like self-control, gentleness, you won't go off half-cocked, right? Because some of us know that this is evil. Some of us who are evil know that the world has evil laws against us or evil policies. Just, it's like these people who are pretending to be for social justice are not for actual justice. Things like that, you know? KJV only, Hake, King James only. Envy is supposed to be the word, not jealousy. Thank you, JJ Money. Appreciate that. Anyway, but God is supposed to be, vengeance is God's, jealousy is God's. I don't think we're supposed to be, but anyway. That's a side note. But isn't that true? Because you'll find that there are, I wonder if I should get to this whites thing. There are whites who are fighting back trying to fight back for what's right, trying to fight back against evil, but they come out in the wrong way, and they get hammered for it. Unjustly, in my opinion, hammered for it. It's a total double standard. And in fact, there are whites who are getting hammered for stuff that other whites did at their event or whatever, or from their website or whatever. So wrong. But if you are led by the Spirit, that'll be like a protection. Nice, huh? Let me talk about these whites who've been hit. This is from like 5-6 years ago, I want to say. The Washington Compost. Actually, I wonder if I have these in the... Oh, yeah, go to Jew... Oh, no. I didn't put it in. Did I not put it in? Is there nothing in the folder in Jew Goldstein?
Yeah, there is.
Oh, there is? Oh, okay, cool. Oh, yeah, there is. Okay. So, it's funny to me. For some reason, this came to me. I was thinking about this. Washington Compost, March 22nd, 2017. That's like 5 years ago, over 5 years ago. This is the headline. Tweet that sent journalist Kurt Eichenwald into a seizure was considered a deadly weapon in an indictment. A tweet was considered a deadly weapon. It's an article by Travis M. Andrews, March 22nd, 2017. And they're calling this guy Kurt Eichenwald a journalist. Well, Hake is a journalist too, but he's a better journalist than Kurt Eichenwald, I guess. Kurt Eichenwald, probably not a Christian, by the way. A man was charged in Texas. Some of you know this story better than I, and some of you do not know this story at all, maybe. A man was charged in Texas back in 2017, in March, with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon after sending a Twitter message, and I don't know if that's a DM or a public tweet, containing an animated strobe image, you mean a GIF, blinking GIF, basically, to so-called journalist Kurt Eichenwald, who suffers from epilepsy. And allegedly, these Washington Compost, they're very fake news. They credulously state that this guy went into a seizure. He was sent into a seizure by blinking lights, guys. Can send you into a seizure if you're a seizure type of person. An epileptic, I guess. The charge includes a hate crime enhancement based on alleged anti-Semitic bias associated with the account. Because the guy is... I feel bad just repeating his name because they doxed him, right? John Rivello, age 29 of Salisbury, Maryland, was booked into Dallas County Jail Monday Released early Tuesday after posting $100,000 bail. Wow. He was arrested in Maryland Friday on a cyber stalking charge in connection with the tweet. So he was a Marine veteran who served in Iraq and Afghanistan. He apologized for the incident, seeking help from the VA. But this is what it is. So this is March, right? 4 months later, too. You suffer for stuff and you don't even know when it's coming. Back in December, 4 months prior, December 2016, this is after Trump won the election. Eichenwald was a Trump hater, by the way, I think. Eichenwald, a senior writer for Newsweek, a far-left outlet. They've covered me, though. They said, Jesse Lee Peterson's producer said that the N-word is not racist. Nice. They didn't mention me by name, but they were talking about me. Because they were doing a hit piece against Jesse Lee. Eichenwald received a tweet in Dallas of a flashing animated image known as a GIF or GIF. I don't know. You guys fight amongst yourselves. I call it GIF, but some people call it GIF. I think the guy who came up with it calls it GIF. But anyway, it included the message, "You deserve a seizure for your post." Immediately after viewing the GIF, Eichenwald allegedly had an epileptic seizure that lasted approximately 8 minutes, quote unquote, during which he experienced a complete loss of his bodily functions, whoa, TMI, and mental faculty. So claim the court documents. Those impairments lasted in some form for several months. It was a very serious seizure, Eichenwald's lawyer, Stephen Lieberman, probably not a Christian, told the Post. He said Eichenwald was almost fully incapacitated for several days, difficulty speaking for a period of time after the episode. Maybe you should not go on Twitter, because flashing GIFs are quite common, aren't they? According to the criminal complaint, Rivello posed as Ari Goldstein, whoever that is. Do you guys know who Ari Goldstein is? I don't. And he tweeted under the account Jew_Goldstein. Jew_Goldstein. And his Twitter was suspended. Aw. Though online speech, including online speech, is generally protected under the First Amendment, experts say this protection likely doesn't apply here. This doesn't even get in the door of the First Amendment, said this woman named Danielle Citron, alleged woman, legal scholar at University of Maryland. It doesn't have expressive value. It doesn't express someone's autonomy of views and opinions. It's not contributing to the marketplace of ideas. It was very much like sending anthrax in an envelope to someone, said this Lieberman lawyer for Eichenwald. Like sending them a bomb in the mail. It wasn't that it was going to convince Kurt that he was wrong about something or hurt his feelings. The offending tweet was sent the same night Eichenwald appeared on Tucker Carlson's Fox News show. The two argued heatedly, mostly about a Twitter message Eichenwald tweeted, meaning a tweet, posted, claiming President Trump was once institutionalized in a mental hospital. There is no evidence Trump was ever in a mental institution, yet they still call this Kurt Eichenwald guy a journalist. Okay, I guess that's what journalists do. They lie and say stuff without evidence, right? After the show, Eichenwald sent 2 tweets, meaning he tweeted, to Tucker Carlson saying, people who gather and analyze intel at great sacrifice deserve to be honored. Talking about the dumb deep state, you know, the liberals at the FBI. The alleged seizure-inducing tweet was in reply to those. Okay, so it was public. So Jew Goldstein, this Ravello guy, he sent it, authorities say he sent it as revenge for what he saw as the reporter's critical coverage. That's not critical coverage of President Trump, it's lies. Quickly after the episode, Eichenwald's handle tweeted this. "This is his wife," says the Kurt Eichenwald Twitter account. "You caused a seizure." So the woman comes in saving him. Slap me in the back of my head if I ever have my wife tweet on my behalf after I have a seizure from Jew Goldstein or something like that for saying we are a Judeo-Christian nation or something because I love Israel. I have your information and have called the police to report the assault, said Kurt Eichenwald's wife, allegedly. I don't even know. The tweet was followed by a string of hateful tweets from various accounts, many bearing Pepe the Frog avatars. Maybe that's why my blog post got deleted on Medium. Popular among the alt-right, as well as with a GIF strobe effect. Another sent a doctored photo of Eichenwald without pants. Oh no! He tweeted that since the December 15th attack, he has received more than 40 GIFs with strobe effects. Get off of Twitter, man. Or like, I don't know. Identifying information about every person who sent me strobes after finding out about the assault is currently in the hands of the FBI. So this guy is going to the FBI with this stuff. More than 40 people sent strobes once they found out they could trigger seizures. Terrible. Details about their cases are with the FBI. Stop sending them, says Kurt Eichenwald. Crazy, huh? But I mean, this is part of my message to the whites. I mean, to me, this is so funny. I don't know if it's true, but it's also like, it's not necessarily the fruit of the spirit, you know, maybe. Be wise, because you do something as benign as sending a GIF, and you can get the hammer down on you, and you know this. So like you're walking into a trap. FYI. And we all know that it's a double standard, but don't be angry about it. Right? JLP talks about this. The fruit of the spirit, self-control. Self-control. One guy said, I know he has epilepsy. I hope this sends you into a seizure. Spam this. Let's see if he dies. What a mess, huh? What a mess. And there was another case, also from 2017, that was from the internet. Like, there's an NBC News headline from April of that year, of 2017. Woman sues the founder of a neo-Nazi website. Yeah, doubt it. Neo-Nazi. After an anti-Semitic troll storm. Unleashed internet trolls against a Jewish woman. A lawsuit states from the LA Slimes. Descending on a Montana town, neo-Nazi trolls test where free speech ends. There's a bunch of NPR covered it, Los Angeles Slimes, NBC so-called news, just everything that everybody who hates whites. And I guess there was coverage of this woman who was, I don't know if this is that nutty woman. Maybe it's not. There was a nutty woman who confronted some white at a gym. And it went viral. Because she just can't contain herself. Women don't belong worrying their pretty little heads about politics. They usually come up with the wrong solutions anyway. Anyway. And I think to this day, probably they're going after these people. To this day, they're going after people who went to Charlottesville, the Unite the Right guys, the Patriots.
To this day!
Ridiculous. Over in Charlottesville in August of 2017. Just case after case of whites trying to fight back, some of them in the wrong way, some of them maybe not even quite in the wrong way. But they're just, maybe it was slightly ill-advised or unwise, and they stretched the law to just put the communist hammer down on the whites. So you have to be wise. It's getting even worse, too, because January 6th, 2021, the Patriots rally, where they had that mostly peaceful Capitol protest against the election shenanigans. Those normie patriots getting the hammer on them. It's really an attack on America, really, huh? And they're ousting extremism in the military with this Black Affirmative Action Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. The days are evil. And if you're standing for anywhere near what's right, you're going to get the hammer on you extra. Or if you're white, because whites tend to be a little bit more closer to what's right in the way that they're more conservative, they're more for actual freedom, they're more for common sense. Or Christian, or you don't sufficiently hate the whites, you're going to get it. Or if you're men, they're going after the unvaxxed, the Christians, the people who love the country. That's considered extremist. In the military, they're kicking the unvaxxed out of the hospitals. So it's a big mess. That's why you need the spirit to be right. Nice, huh? Very nice. Let me check the super chats here. Single mom over there on Streamlabs says, on one hand, Hunter, as in Hunter Avallone, believes that blacks will get their lives together only if given the chance. On the other hand, he says blacks, like anyone, are products of their environment. Which one is it, Hunter? Or rather, which one is it, Hunter? Single mom spelled it W-I-T-C-H. Nice. Which is right. Their environment is a bunch of witches. You know? What has a bigger impact on you in your life? Your immediate environment with your parents and your siblings and your household and your so-called friends? Or this setup that, oh, you were relegated to the urban areas? Give me a break. 50 years ago or 40 years ago, give me a break. They didn't have to they could have built the ghettos into being nice. They could have. Like Jesse Leach said on the show today. I sent it to him. The Israelites in Egypt, when they were living in Egypt, they had grown numerous, and the Pharaoh was like, you know what, these guys, they're getting too uppity. If they were anything like the Jews of today, right? So they relegated them, the Israelites, who were probably not black, by the way, sorry, Art, I love you. If I love anybody, they were relegated to them to, like, where was it? I don't know if it was Goshen. Is that in Egypt? I don't know my stuff. But they relegated them to this area, and they even thrived in that area. If the blacks were a thriving type of a people, if they were relegated to the urban areas, they would have thrived in the urban areas. And some of them did. A few. Very few. Another super chat from Brandon M. says, don't feel bad for old Kurt. He got busted looking at... I dare not repeat it, but I do remember hearing that. TP. I'll call it TP. What's a good T word for like a pizza topping? Because it wasn't cheese pizza that he was looking at. It was... Anyway. I don't want to get into that. But he was busted looking at TP, allegedly. And then tried to pawn it off on his kids. Wow. Anyway. Thank you, Brandon M., for the reminder. TMI. Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Poor internet. And, you know, it's so ridiculous. You get punished for stuff that other people did if you're white. Not good. That's why whites tend to be like self-policing. Oh, let me finally get to Dean in North Carolina. We have about 3 minutes here. Dean in North Carolina, how are you doing?
What's up, Hake?
Hey.
Hey. What do you feel about Televangelists?
I feel nothing about Televangelists. I'm not too familiar with them. They're probably hit and miss. There's some decent ones, I want to say.
All right.
Yeah, because Televangelists, the idea is you get the word out to a big audience. It's kind of a little bit obsolete.
Bond, real quick. Sorry, brother. Real quick.
What's your opinion on Televangelists?
I believe it's an ill-gotten gain.
Ill-gotten gain.
As far as that goes. Ill-gotten gain off the word of Christ, off the gospel.
Oh, because people see it and they donate to it? People see them on TV and donate to them?
Not that, the donation thing, and everyone donates somewhere, whether it's here or there, whether it's $1 for a bum on the street, whatever.
But it's the donations.
It's using the gospel and telling people they got to do work and do this.
But that's not necessarily like people who are evangelists, huh? I was thinking about television preachers, televangelists. I don't know. Not necessarily God's Learning Channel. I don't think that the guy who he was
so
stereotyped.
Do you guys believe?
Hold on, man. I'm talking.
Okay, sorry,
it was the guy from God's Learning Channel. What was his name? But he was solid. He was about the truth, and he loved Jesse Lee. He gave Jesse Lee a show. So there's people who are for the truth. Anyway, man, I gotta go. Nice talking with you. Call me again sometime, Dean, I guess.
Later.
Bye. Sounded like you wanted to get to something else, but we don't have much time to talk. Thank you, guys. This has been the Hake Report. Catch me tomorrow, hopefully. Check out my subscribestar.com/the Hake Report. I'm due for another post, I guess. I was thinking about it. And hopefully see you tomorrow. Take care.